My name is Christopher Saunders, and this is the Connecticut Sports Talent Show, where we talk all things talents in Connecticut. And on today's show, I'm pleased to have a former NVL talent, Seymour Wildcat, who's doing great things for the Trinity Bantams, who play in the NESCAC, a place where I've done many, many games for the Northeast Sports Network, and I'll be back there again in the fall and the winter and the spring. But this young talent is someone that a lot of people have known for quite some time. Cade Claridis Dietra, thanks for coming on, man. I really do appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Chris.
Before we get into your time with the Bantams and even Seymour, I kind of want to know about yourself, man, because with any first-time guest, I like to hear about the story of where they found the sport of which they're playing even now. And for you, it's football. How did that sport find you?
Right. So growing up, my dad played football his whole life. And when I was born, he put a football next to me in my bed, and I've been sleeping with it ever since. Had me in the backyard getting a three-point stance, teaching me how to throw a football, tackle. It's been my life since I could walk. I played flag football, got right in Pop Warner, played winter football. And then when I wasn't playing football, I was playing basketball and then lifting for football at the same time. So, my whole family enjoys it. It's the love of my life. My dad, I love it. And I've been doing it my whole life.
So did he always picture you being on the line as far as being on that D line?
Well, he played O-line, so he was a guard and a tackle. But between you and I think I'm a little more coordinated. That's why I'm playing defensive linebacker, and he got thrown to the line. But I don't know. I think he knew from a start that my build was a little bit different than his. Meaning more a little quicker. So he knew I was going to be a linebacker. And he loved it. And my first year at Pop Warner, I played O-line, and he thought that was great. And then that next year, my body kind of developed, and I got moved to linebacker, and he loves it.
Now, I have to ask, because he was an offensive lineman, and then with you being a linebacker, if you were to go up against him, who wins that?
It's a great question. I've had that question asked me before. Honestly, in his prime, in my prime, I think he's got me beat just because he was a monster. And
really,
I think if it's like a toss or if it's a sweep, I'll definitely beat him to the edge. But if it's smash mouth and it's right down the middle, it's tough. I'd probably say him.
You know, what's funny is that looking at as far as what the Bantams have you under 6'2", 225, you're not small. So if with you being that size, how big was he?
He was like 6'3", 6'3.5", and I think he was pushing 290 in college. Whoa. He was a big boy. So
where did he play in school?
Bridgewater in Mass.
Okay. Yeah. So that could explain a lot as far as
he was a 3-year starter there
right now, kind of having the aspirations of playing in college.
Yeah, and I have his pictures all in my bedroom and my basement. I've been playing college ball, and he's always been a role model to me and someone I looked up to. And he was a beast.
Now, as you were growing up, Kate, I would love to know, as far as kind of, did you play multiple positions while you were growing up in the game of football, or was it strictly defense?
I always played linebacker, so I never wasn't playing linebacker. But offense, I played running back, fullback, tackle, tight end. Yeah, those four.
Which position did you like the most?
On the offensive side or both sides?
Well, obviously, defensive side, probably linebacker, because you can get after the quarterback. Hence why you're playing that. But offensively, which position did you like the most?
I like tight end, without a doubt, because I was able to block. I like pancaking people, and I also like going out for passes. And that was a great time. I played that my freshman and sophomore year of high school.
That's interesting, because I never would have thought that. I was thinking running back, because knowing just from when I remember, and I only saw you for 1 year because I came to the radio station a little bit late, and I remember watching you play, and I don't know why, but I saw running back potential, because you just like to you went 100%, the motor was there, and you destroyed people.
Yeah, I definitely enjoyed it when I was younger, but as I got older, I started to love just the tight end spot. I love Gronkowski. I'm a big Patriots fan. So, he was always a beast. And when I first played sophomore year, it was awesome because I had a few touchdowns. I was able to block with all my older friends who played the line. Just a double team somebody, just pancake them was crazy, crazy time.
That is funny to hear, and that is pretty cool to hear, man. Now, you always lived in Seymour, correct?
Yep.
So when you were coming up, did you know as far as the history of the Wildcats before you entered the high school?
I did. My dad was a O line coach there for several years, and they won the 2007 championship when he was coaching. And I used to go to every game, every home game, some away games. I went to the championship game,
Hmm.
so I knew the culture. I knew what it was like to win. I knew Coach Sponheimer, Spoonie. He was a great guy. He was a great football player. Uh, he played at Kentucky, and then he was a head coach for a lot of years and won a lot of games. My mom was an athletic trainer there, so I've been part of Seymour before I can even talk.
So basically, you're a Wildcat through and through.
Yeah, blue and gold through and through.
Now, you mentioned Spoonie, and it's funny because I had one of his former players on who used to coach in the Connecticut circuit and now is taking some time off. Zach Mahali. He's
Okay.
taking some time to kind of just, because he's got a job where he's got to be able to put a little bit more time into, so it's hard to coach. And he'll actually be on the call with me for a game this season, our first game, Holy Cross and Kennedy. But to go back to Spoonie, he told me about how much that Spoonie meant to him as far as learning the game and just seeing things that sometimes he didn't even see. And this guy loves football. For you being that young, did you ever talk to Coach, Spottenheimer? Did you ever have conversations with him?
Not too much, and if I did, I don't really remember them because I was so young. But I just remember he was a huge idol for my dad because he was my dad learned a lot from him.
Mhm.
Um, but no, I just remember him breaking down the huddles. Can't really tell you exactly what he said. I just knew what he said was very important, and it stuck to his players a lot. But I would say no, I don't really remember much, but I know he was a great guy, great coach.
Now, with your father being a coach, and I know a lot goes into that as far as preparing for each week and such, were you always next to him watching the film and such, or were you kind of maybe just doing your own thing and not really focusing on that at the time because you were so young?
The film aspect not as much because I didn't really know the game as well. But as I got older and I was, like I said, in the backyard playing football with him, he would always teach me little mechanics and little techniques and stuff. He had the bags out, going over the bags, shopping the feet, form tackling. So he had a lot of stuff to teach me like that. He also taught me a lot of things that offensive linemen would do. Taught me things to watch out for, whether that was how they reach, what they're looking for is if I'm coming for a blitz, how they can tell if I'm blitzing, how I can tell if they're pulling. So I think that went a long way, especially when I got to college and when I was playing throughout high school.
Was there anything he told you as far as tells, either with maybe the way their feet were positioned or maybe a particular call or anything like that?
Well, high schoolers a lot, they're not as mature as obviously college players are, so they tend to lean.
Mhm.
You could see on their stance, they'll lean forward, a lot of tension on their front, so that means they're going to either down block or something like that. Light on their fingers and a little lean on a slower guy, probably going to pull or it's a pass. Um, if it's a lot of checks, that was different depending on the team. But a lot of checks mean that it's going to be probably a pass because a lot of audibles they'll switch out of it because they know someone's coming.
Mhm.
And I carried that throughout high school, but college was a little different because a lot of guys knew how to do new tells and they knew their weaknesses. So you had to learn from scratch pretty much when you got to college.
I've got a pretty good hunch that you were able to dissect the offensive line of a Holy Cross, a Naugatuck pretty quickly as far as, all right, I know what they're doing. And then you could tell that to your teammates.
Correct. Correct. I would watch film a lot in study hall
Mhm.
during school when I had no work to do. Well, after the work was done, obviously. And I remember I used to just watch hours and hours of that film. I remember Watertown, there was a time when both their tackles would put their hand on the ground. That was always a run. Hand would come up, it's always a pass. I mean, that was a huge tell. I don't know how their coaches didn't pick up on that one. And I told our head coach, and we did it the whole game. We blitzed every single time. Remember, we beat them like 42-7. And remember, Woodland does a lot of I don't even know what it's called now. They're like two wings and then a fullback. You can't even see the fullback back there.
Mhm.
A lot of tells with their linemen when they're pulling. If their splits are closer on the right side, they're probably going to pull over to the left. Um, little things like that. You have to,
You sound like a coach's son. The way you're kind of just mentioning that with the offensive lineman. You
yeah,
sound
yeah.
like
It's a lot easier to show you in person, but it's hard to explain it over the screen. But if you played football, you know what I'm saying. So
Mhm.
yeah,
Exactly. As you can hear my dog even say, he's even
yeah,
agreeing
right.
with you on that.
He understands.
Now, as far as when you were, entering Seymour, your freshman year, take me into that.
Oh, freshman year. I don't know what I was getting into. I mean, I didn't know too much about the guys that were already there. Um, that was definitely underweight, I think, for my size. I was like 180, 185. Hit the weight room hard after freshman year. I played freshman ball, I played JV ball, and I played varsity special teams. I mean, that was a huge wake up call going on special teams in varsity. Talk about nerves, but I got over that quick after the first game.
Mhm.
Um, did that for 11 games we played, made it to the first round of playoffs, so we lost. Our freshman year was definitely a wake up call, I'd say. I mean, after that season, I hit the gym hard, I hit the field hard. I gained like 25 pounds, and I learned a lot from the older guys. I remember I got pancaked by our senior left tackle captain. He put me on my butt a few times, and I was like, "This is it. This is time to wake up."
Would you say that that freshman year kind of, in some ways shaped who you are, not to say fully, but kind of helped to where you are now, being at Trinity and being so successful on the football field?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think those guys develop you into a new person, a new player.
Mm.
Um, you just got to face your fears. Obviously didn't want to go against our starting left tackle every time, but I was on scout team. You just got to do what you got to do. It's going to toughen you up down the road. It'll build character. But I think that matured me as a younger player, and then being able to start as a sophomore. So without those hits and
Mhm.
little rings in your head, um, I wouldn't be where I am.
Is there a particular player or coach who your freshman year really kind of helped, the molding process as
Uh,
you were going through, as you said?
Coach Lennon, Tom Lennon. He was my guy. He did everything. We watched film with each other in study hall because he was a librarian. So it was a great gig. Um, I asked him so many questions. I can't even. I'll thank him again right now. And I asked him billions of questions. He answered them all. Um, he'd always yell at me. I was definitely a guy that you need to yell at. It stuck with me more when you yelled at me on the field in front of people. It kind of put me on the spot. He
Mhm.
was not afraid to do that. You mess up, he'd throw his headset on the ground, swear at you. I mean, it sticks with you. But that's without a doubt, I'd say Tom Lennon had the biggest impact my high school career.
Not gonna lie, you're a big dude. I wouldn't yell at you.
Yeah, he was way bigger. He's a big dude too. He's a big
Well,
guy.
I remember when I was with the radio station, not doing play by play, I was kind of interning for them at the time. And I remember they were doing a Seymour game, and I was outside the press box just kind of writing down notes. And I remember Lennon threw his headset. I don't remember what team it was, but he threw the headset. And I'm just thinking to myself, I just hope it's not broken.
He threw his headset at least once a game. At least once a game. And you knew it was coming too, because he'd kind of trot over to you.
Uh,
When he's walking fast, you can definitely tell. Because a lot of body parts start moving. So it's a scary sight, but it'll set you straight.
Now, is there any particular, fond memory that you have, Cade, as far as your high school career that you will never forget?
Like game wise.
It could be game, it could be a special moment. It may not even have to be on the gridiron. Whatever has stuck with you to this point now.
Um, That's a good question. Well, for one, we played the semifinals playoff game at Trinity College my sophomore year against Capital Prep. And that definitely stuck with me because I didn't think I was going to Trinity at the time. I barely even knew about it as much as I should have. And that was awesome. We won. Remember the head coach for Trinity was there, Coach Devaney. I had a great game. It was a great time. It was like a maturity thing. It was playing first legit playoff game. There's a great team. They had two UConn commits, and I was so nervous. Got on the bus. We ended up in Hartford in the city. I was like, oh my God, where are we right now? This is tough. This area looks tough. Um, but that definitely stuck with me. I'll never forget that. I remember that like it was yesterday. I don't know. I think that'd be it. I'm just
When you
trying to
stepped on
think.
the campus, man, I mean, now that you are there, I mean, like, do you ever think about like the first time like you weren't even eligible to be technically, scouted or coaches to talk to you at the time.
Right.
So you going in there, what was your first impression? Because I could tell you, my first time walking into Trinity, I remember I was doing a softball game. It was against WestCon. First time ever stepping onto the campus. I get out of my car and I go, wow, this is cool.
Yeah, it's definitely different. Would you say the first time I walked down there my freshman year in high school?
Your sophomore year in the
So,
semifinal game.
sophomore year? I don't know. I remember it was really dark. Had the lights on just the field. The rest was pretty dark. Remember there was houses that we got dropped off on, and the houses are where all the frats are now.
Yep.
And I remember there were some kids living there. They were watching us like hop on the field. We went to the bathrooms that they knocked down now. And I was like, dude, where are we? I remember asking one of my friends, and I was like, I don't even know where we are right now. And I was like, are we in Hartford? Are we in New Britain? I don't even know where we were. Um, that definitely got me nervous, just not knowing where you were, being in a
Mhm.
tough city like that. But I mean, like I said, it builds character, and it's my second home now. So
Now, as far as Trinity itself, I mean, I don't know if there was any other schools that were talking to you, but was Trinity like? It sounds like Trinity was before you even knew it. Trinity was your first. To me, felt like your first home. Felt like that's where I want to go.
well, I was actually verbally committed to Brown.
Okay.
So I was verbally committed to Brown my end of my junior year, going into my senior year that summer. Um, and then the whole coaching staff got fired. So then they stripped my offer. The new coach came to visit me at school, talked to me, never re-offered me. And I was like, damn, do I do a fifth year? Do I go do prep? What do I
Mm-hmm.
do now? Then I had Bentley. I love Bentley. I had Fordham. I love Fordham. Then I had Trinity, Tufts, um, and Wesleyan. And I visited Wesleyan. Wasn't my type of guys. Visited Tufts. The coaches didn't really want what I wanted. They were like, "Oh, we could see you as like an outside linebacker, maybe like a walk up D end." I was like, "Nah, I play middle linebacker. It's my spot. I know I can do well for you there."
Mm-hmm.
And I got to Trinity, and the coach, Coach Louis Acarulo, great guy. My favorite coach, right next to Tom Lennon. He gelled with me and my dad when we went on a visit. And it was I knew it was a spot right away. He took me on a full campus tour,
Mm-hmm.
showed me the guys. The guys were great, all normal dudes, guys that believed in the same thing as me, wanted to do the same thing as me, loved football as much as I did, weren't that weird. So it was a good fit. And then Fordham didn't work out, and Bentley didn't work out. It didn't feel like I just felt like Trinity was a better fit.
No, I did not know about the Brown aspect, so I apologize for kind of going down that lane. But to
Fine.
just mention that really quick, was it kind of, I shouldn't say kind of, but was it difficult for a little bit? Because that's kind of like a gut check. Like you got an offer and they wanted you, then changes happen as they do in college football. It's a business, they change. And then to not have that same sort of connection, to not have that same love that the previous regime had, that had to affect you in some ways.
It definitely wasn't a great feeling. I remember the coach came to visit me my sophomore year at school, and he visited me on June. He told me to come to a junior day visit. I visited the whole campus. I loved it. I came back that summer for the camp. Showed up for camp. They verbally offered me. I verbally committed. Like verbally meaning it wasn't in paper. I didn't sign anything. And
Mhm.
then a month later, coach called me up. He was like, "Hey, we just all got fired. I have to unfortunately strip your verbal offer away. It's out of my hands now. The coaches know who you are. They have all of our files." New coaching staff came. Like I said, didn't offer me again. And I was like, oh, damn, this is terrible. That was hands down one of the most stressful times of high school. especially being a senior when you just want it to go smoothly and just transition into college.
Mhm.
It wasn't easy. And I just didn't, it was very tough, but I was fortunate enough and everything's meant to be that I found Trinity and landed in my second spot, second home.
They say everything happens for a reason. I'm a big believer in that. Stuff happens for a reason, even if you don't know what that reason is at the time. And there was a reason for you to be at Trinity, as you've spoken about it, so highly before. And another part of adversity, I think, and not I think, but there was, you lost the season because of COVID. Everybody lost the season. Connecticut football lost, high school football lost the season. So that's another thing that had to kind of test the mental aspect of the game, but also more so your mental side as well.
Right. Right. And with COVID, you practice, but you don't learn the plays and you don't really develop as a football player unless you're actually playing the game.
Mhm.
So you have guys who play football in college and they're like, yeah, I've been playing for 4 years. If you haven't stepped on the field, I don't really know how much you've developed. You really got to develop that playing in a football game really hurts every player in Connecticut, hurts every player in New England, every player in the US who got affected from COVID. Um, us not playing was terrible. That was a terrible time. It definitely took us back. Thank God we have that extra COVID year. If you want it, they offer it to you. But it's like a buffer. It was not an easy time. So it was kind of like a step back, but that's just more time you got to put into the off season and get ready for that next year.
And I mean, the next year, man, was fantastic, fantastic for you. I mean, I have it right here, tied for third on the team in tackles, tied for fourth on the team in tackles for loss, fifth in sacks, and then the best one of all, best one of them all, a NESCAC all academic team. That's fantastic. So congratulations. But the numbers on the field, I mean, did you know that you were putting up numbers like that? Or were you just like see ball, hit ball? If the player's with it, hit the player too.
I wasn't really looking at the stats till like halfway through the season because I remember I have a big group chat with my aunt, uncle, mom, and dad, and they were sending me my stats. I didn't really pay attention to it because I didn't really want to get into it too much. And I started to really look into it, and I was like, wow, I want to get number one. I obviously want to be number one in all these. So every game you got to take every advantage that you possibly can and every opportunity. So you get that tackle, you want that tackle, you want half a tackle. So I mean, I think it helped me as a player once I looked at the stats because I just wanted it more. Um, but yeah, it was a good season. I was very grateful for it. Was able to finish the season healthy, which is what every player wants. And it was a great time. I wish we went 10-0, but we didn't.
And the season was fantastic. Only had, I think, one loss, and a
Yeah,
lot of the games were high scoring affair for one side, meaning you guys. So it
yeah.
seemed like everything was really clicking for the Bantams.
Yep, yep. We were definitely clicking.
Now, with your senior year coming up, or so far on the field with a potential chance to be able to have that extra year, um, I know that it's one of those things where you have the opportunity, but are you thinking more about, what, extra year? That's another year away. Got to focus on this year right now.
Always focus at the task at hand. And I mean, that's this year. That's going 10-0.
Mhm.
Um, that's leading the team as a captain. That's being that guy that people can look up to. The weight room, on the field, in the classroom. So we just have to take every day like it's our last, especially as the first day of preseason, um, and just get after it. You can't take anyone lightly. You don't know what anyone's doing in the off season. So I mean, you have to come out. You have to play every game like it's your last. Because we didn't know we were going to lose that game either. We thought we were going to come into Williams, kind of roll them over, finish the season, get the ring, and we got shut up. So
Now, the captain part, I'm glad you mentioned that because I was just about to ask you before that question and I forgot really quick. Being named captain is one of the best things I feel like in sports because it speaks to you how you are as a person, how the staff feels of you, and also the players as well, depending on who picks in such. I know each program does it differently. And to be named captain of the Bantams has to be such an honor. And I feel like you don't take that lightly by any means.
not at all. No, our players vote at the end of the spring, so they voted in May, and I was named it on our last day of classes. We all had a team meeting, so it was me and three other fifth years. So technically I'm the youngest one, but it's not really like the youngest one because it's weird because of fifth years.
Mhm.
But it's an honor. It's almost like emotional because you get to be a leader next to those guys who are those older men, and learn from them too. It was great because I know that's how my teammates look up to me like that, and I'm glad to be that leader in the weight room. I'm glad to be that leader on the field, someone that everyone could look up to, and even off the field too. That's even bigger to me. You could be a great football player and be an all American, but how are you in the classroom? How are you on walking the streets at parties? Are you just that guy that the cops have to arrest? Or are you that guy that you can ask for help to bring you home or something like that? Um, it's just how some people work, and it's an honor. I told my dad and my mom, my uncle at dinner when I was told that next day, and it was a very emotional dinner. All the hard work, all the years of playing football, and coming to Trinity, not knowing how it was going to work out, how things were going to go, and it was a great feeling.
Now I got to ask at the dinner table, who cried first?
I'd probably say me and my dad.
I was going to mention your dad, but I was thinking, you know what? Maybe he held on to it a little bit,
Yeah,
didn't drop a tear, but it sounds like he cried.
yeah. It wasn't like a cry. It was just like an emotional thing. Got a little teary eyed, but
Yeah.
we definitely get emotional when it comes to football and family. So it was a good time.
That's awesome, Cable. You know what? Thanks so much for coming on. I really do appreciate it. This was a lot of fun. Best of luck this season. And hopefully I'll see you on down at Trinity for a couple soccer games coming up. I expect big seasons from you. You're making the NVL proud. I know the Wildcats are, I think, extremely proud of you, and you'll keep doing great things now as the captain of the Trinity Bantams football team.
Thanks a lot, Chris. I really appreciate you having me, and I'll definitely see you at the games.
Definitely. That'll wrap things up here in the Connecticut Sports Talent Show. So until next time, stay safe. Remember, CT stands for Connecticut Talent. I'm Roger and find them all. Do their shit, everybody, and be well.